Welcome to the Point of Difference Rugby League podcast. I'm your host, Dave, and today I have a sensational guest on the show, an absolute Kiwi legend, 2 grand finals for the Warriors and a grand final for St. Helens. We all love him. It's the Huntly Hurricane, Lance Hohaia. How are you, man?
Good, thanks, mate. Yeah, appreciate you reaching out to me and excited to have a chat today on your show.
Oh, mate, it's so cool to have you on. Been really looking forward to having you on. Big Warriors fan back in the days when you were there, and pretty special to have. I think you'd be the only player who's played in both the Warriors grand finals, if I'm correct.
Yes, I think so, as of right now. Hopefully that'll change one day.
Yeah, hopefully, man. So I hear you're hiding out in Michigan these days in the USA. What are you doing over there?
Yeah, so I moved here back in 2015 after the UK. My ex-wife is from Michigan, so that's kind of what brought me here to this particular spot. Yeah, it's a good spot. It's a good place to raise a family. It's called Grand Rapids as a city. It's
Okay.
West Michigan, so it's the opposite side of Detroit, close to Chicago. Chicago's around the other side of the lake in Illinois, and
Right.
yeah, it's not a bad place to live. And I got 2 boys; they're 12 and 10, so that's why I still live here.
Okay.
And they're doing really well and growing up fast, and life's going pretty good. So can't complain, mate.
Awesome, man. Are you doing anything with rugby league over there? Because I heard you did a bit of coaching with the team over there.
Yeah, I was trying to get involved with some league, but there's not a lot in the Midwest where I am. There's none in Michigan at all. So I
Okay.
haven't really had a chance to get involved in league specifically, but I do coach rugby union. So I'm a full-time University Rugby Union coach. So that's
Wow.
yeah, that's my sort of day-to-day job. I do have another job as a purchasing manager as well for a local furniture manufacturer. So
Okay.
we ship and make school furniture throughout the country. But I do coach. I have coached full-time rugby union for 7 years now. So the team that I'm with now is a new program as of 4 years ago. So I'm
Okay.
actually the foundation coach. They added rugby, women's rugby and men's rugby 2021, the fall of 2021, which for us is August. So yeah, it's going good. The first couple of years were a bit, bumpy, trying to start like from scratch, basically. They'd never
Yeah.
rugby team before, and they'd never really knew much about the sport or kind of what it looked like and how it was
Yeah.
run. So yeah, there's been some growing pains, but this year we've got a good team. We've got boys from all around the world. I've got a
Wow.
couple Aussie boys, a couple Kiwis, a few Welsh boys, South Africans, and kids from all around the US. So it's good fun. It's good fun, mate. And yeah, trying to obviously stay involved with rugby league in some way, but it's kind of tough to do so at the moment with there's just nothing around me. So trying to get to the NRL in March, and I went earlier this year to the game, and
Yeah.
obviously with the Warriors being there this year, it's something that I'm looking to do this year, next year too.
Yeah, man, that's going to be epic. Warriors at Las Vegas. How good is that? So,
Yep.
so let's rewind the clock, man. So you grow up in the Waikato. So, like, where
I did.
exactly did you grow up, and how did your rugby league journey begin as a youngster?
Yeah, so I'm a Huntley boy, and born and raised. My parents are both from Huntley. My grandparents were my dad's side were from Huntley. My mum's mum were all from the town. It's a pretty staunch rugby league town, and
Yeah, man.
just grew up watching my older half brother play,
Okay.
Tama. So Tama played for the Waikato Cougars and the New Zealand Māori, and various representative teams over the years. And my dad was always a coach and kind of administrator or team manager. So I was
Okay.
always around, league teams over the years and kicking the ball around and, watching the teams that he coached train and play and travel with them as a youngster. So that's sort of where my love came from. It was really my
Right.
family interest. My dad was always a massive State of Origin fan, so I remember getting up early and watching Origin, back in the
Yeah.
early years when Queensland were the underdogs and,
Yeah.
Wally Lewis was running around. And so those are my early memories of like watching the game.
Awesome.
Wally Lewis was a bit of an idol of mine. Ricky Stewart, Laurie Daly, those types of players that were
Yep.
around and big stars in the 80s.
Yeah, man.
And then obviously, sort of beyond that, my older brother, Tama, he was somebody that I watched and idolized, and he was a fantastic little player too. And More recently Stacey, when I was a
Yeah.
youngster watching him play for the Warriors, and then obviously was lucky enough to play alongside Stace and call him a mate now. So so I grew up, played all through the grades. I had some fantastic, very caring, very smart, very tough coaches along the way as a youngster.
Right.
And, I learned a lot of lessons from all of them in different ways. And, about discipline and commitment and toughness and, team dynamics and communication and, scanning fields and, you
Right.
know, honing my skills. And so I was lucky. I had, a lot of good coaches and a lot of good mentors, throughout my life. And, my dad pushed me a lot. I had school holidays, tackle bags and kicking
Yep.
goals and running, kilometers each day in the summertime. And, he was always pushing me. You could see that I had talent.
Yep.
But I also played a lot of other sport. I played cricket and did swimming and I did athletics and, I played softball and, played
Awesome.
some rugby and played soccer and, I did everything. I did everything to kind of diversify my skill set, I guess. And I think,
Okay.
I believe that really helped me as an athlete. And I still enjoy, playing badminton and tennis and, shooting hoops. I still enjoy all those sports to this day. And I think I enjoy doing those things more than I actually like watching sport. So,
Okay.
um, I think those were reasons why I was a fairly all-round good athlete because I played a lot of sport. I was lucky I had
Yep.
some good coaches. I went to a good school, went to St. Paul's Collegiate in Hamilton. That's a
Yep.
top private school in the area. So, I was lucky to get some high level coaching and access to some awesome training facilities and, played some good rugby teams in that area too. The Hamilton Boys High and
Yep.
St. Kennigan's and King's College. I remember having some games against those schools over the years. So, I definitely enjoyed rugby union as much as I did rugby league when I was young.
Yep. Yep.
I think I do remember there was a game I played, and I think I was fifth form or fourth form, and I was pretty young. I was playing on the first 15. I think I was one of the youngest members to ever play first 15 rugby at my school.
All
And
right.
my dad being the league, he asked me, he said, how long it took you to touch the ball today? I said, quite long. He said 52 minutes.
Oh my
And
goodness.
it was 52 minutes into the game before I touched the ball and I was playing second five. And so it was a wet game
Oh,
and, kicking in, it was a forwards game. And so I think, that was probably why I didn't enjoy rugby as much. I just, I didn't touch the ball enough. And when I was playing league,
yep.
it was all action and tackle and pass and kick and run. And so I definitely, as a youngster, enjoyed the action more in league. But I
Yep.
had a lot of good friends that played rugby union, and I certainly still enjoy watching the All Blacks and all the Super Rugby and the international rugby to this day. Like I'm still a big rugby fan too.
Yep.
All my league mates are always like, ugh, I'm like, mate, I enjoy, both forms of the sport. And I had a love for the game too at one point in time for sure when I was playing and
Yep.
appreciate all of those times and the lessons it taught me too. So, but I think I know that I probably enjoyed the activity of rugby league at the time. I think rugby union's changed a lot now, the way that it's
Yep.
played. But
Oh, big time.
back then, 52 minutes, I was second five and I wouldn't
No
touch the
ball.
ball. So I think that's kind of where my decisions and path took me towards rugby league because I was making the New Zealand 16s rugby team, under 16 New Zealand team, and the New Zealand Rugby League 16s team and New Zealand
Wow.
secondary schools rugby team were after me as well, and they were wanting me to go to the trials they have down in Palmerston North, and I think like Ben Artinga and Luke McAllister, Jerome Kino, those were the sort of guys that were knocking around at that time, Joe
Wow.
Rokotoko, and so I was playing against all them
Yeah.
through first 15 years. And but yeah, just kind of, the rugby league was where my true passion, my heart sort of was leaning in that direction more so. But it was touch and go for a while there. I was considering joining the Chiefs Academy and
All right.
going the rugby union path. So, life could have been completely different in other ways, right? If I'd chosen to go down that path. But no, I'm pretty happy and thankful for the rugby league career that I had for sure, and very proud of that.
Oh, well, we're all glad you chose rugby league, man. It wouldn't have been the same without you. You played for Tani Whanau in the
Yep.
competition in the Waikato?
Yeah, so that's my home club, and I still get back there as often as I can when I'm home, and have some some good friends. And funnily enough, I caught up with one of my childhood friends. I hadn't seen him for 25 years.
Yeah.
And recently in June, I was back in New Zealand, and they presented me with a blazer, a honorary life member from
Oh,
Tani Whanau.
beautiful.
And yeah, I had there was a training session they had. One of the premier teams there were training, and they presented. It was just like, it was a bit of a whirlwind trip for me. I hadn't been home in 5 years, and I had a lot of people to catch up with. But anyway, made the trip down to the training, and they sort of surprised me with a haka, and they're all
Oh,
dressed up
beautiful.
and stuff, and they nearly presented me with my blazer. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was great to see. Great to see those guys that I had a strong connection with. I remember, they were, as I said, some fabulous guys and players that I played with through the Waikato junior grades. Like
Yeah.
a ton of them would have played professionally and had the ability and the talent and the skill. So it's just a shame that some of them probably didn't have the guidance and opportunities that I had, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
All the work ethic too. They get a little distracted by other things in life and
Yeah.
females and other stuff. So
Yeah.
as you do. But yeah, so I caught up with Tahi Taho was his name, and I hadn't seen him in 25 years, and we had a big
Wow.
hug, and yeah, it was great to catch up with him and reminisce about the old days. And I remember one day we actually had a fight, a fist fight, and it was about something that we both felt strongly about, and we just we were so competitive and so fiercely competitive. And it was during training.
Yeah.
And we must have been like 13, 14-year-olds at the time. And we're ultra competitive, and we're playing some form of touch or non-contact, meant to be non-contact game. And our coach is there, Harry Wakai was his name. And yeah, we ended up having a fist fight over this situation in this game, just because we were so competitive. And we had a bit of a laugh about it, and we don't condone violence in any way, obviously. And times are a little different now, but that's just what it was like back then. We were just two tough
Yeah.
kids trying to compete as hard as we could. And that's one of the reasons why we had a great little team. We had a few of us that were like that. And yeah, Tani Whanau, I'm very proud of coming from that team, and there's some
Yeah.
proud traditions and people and players that have come from that club. And I believe they won the grand final this year again. So there's still some talent coming through there, which is great.
Yeah, man, it's so good, so good. So moving on from like a little bit further down the track, you played for Northern Districts when you were really starting to, get close to making,
Yep.
top grade, getting signed with the Warriors. But before that, you played a touring French side for Northern
Yep.
Districts. So how did you go, and what position were you naturally coming into, when
Mhm.
you're a rep player?
Yeah, so I grew up mostly playing 6 or 5'8". So I played standoff position, and felt that was, I liked the freedom of that spot. I liked you could, you didn't have to orchestrate the team as much as 7. You could play a little bit more off the cuff, kind of float around as a second receiver, and I enjoyed that role, similar to fullback in some ways. I kind of played a different fullback role when I was playing fullback for the Warriors and the Kiwis. But I was playing 6, and yeah, I can't remember how that even came about, but I was a youngster, obviously, and I was still in high school. And I remember the coach called my dad one day, and he said, "Hey, the Frenchies are in town. Obviously, they're there playing the Kiwis for a tour, and they want a warm-up game, and we're trying to put this Northern Districts team together, and wondering if Lance wants to come and have a run." And so at the time, we were kind of mid first 15 rugby season, because I'm like
Okay.
16 at school at St. Paul's. And so my dad said, "Oh, I don't know, you'll have to ask him. You'll have to ask him. I'll get him on the phone." And so I remember talking to the coach, and I believe it was John Devonshire, or maybe John was the team manager at the time, and he said, "Hey mate, we've got this opportunity for you, and like, what do you think?" And I'm 16, and I'm like 75 kgs, and I'm like,
Yeah.
man, these guys are like professional men, and the Frenchies are, if you know anything about the French, they're a little grubby at times, and they're
Yeah,
tough
I've
men.
heard lots.
And this is back in the late 90s, so the game is not as professional as it is now.
Right.
Anyhow, so I said, okay, I'll have to chat to my coach. I'll have to, I'm in the first 15, and I'm on an athletic scholarship to go to the school, and I better just make sure that that's okay. So I had a conversation with the school and the principal at the time, and Steve Cole was his name, and he was a massive supporter of me and my family, and was, and I'm still friends with him to this day, and he did a lot of good things for me. And he said, he said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, I don't know. Like, I would like to play because I think it'd be a great opportunity, but truthfully, I'm scared about taking the field and getting hurt. He said, "I think you'd be okay." He said, "You're a tough kid, and you got a lot of talent, and you should do what you want to do. Like, we won't hold you back." And I was like, okay. And I really appreciate that approach from Steve, and he was always like that with me. Even when I had to skip out on first 15 for a full year to go and play for the Warriors, basically, and train a little bit more and be up in Auckland more often. So he basically said, "Yeah, you should go and do what you want to do." So I called the coach back and I said, "Okay, I'm in. What do you need me to do?" He said, "Okay, we'll need you in camp for a couple nights. Come and do some training with us." And it literally was like 2 days of training. So it was Thursday, Friday. Because I think something happened and they got an injury, or they just really wanted me in the team. They heard about this youngster playing in the Waikato, and they want me to jump in the team and have a run. So I remember playing, and my principal came to the game, Steve Cole, and I think I don't recall the score, but I do recall enjoying myself, and I do recall feeling like comfortable. I didn't feel out of place, and a little bit of physicality. You're like, oh, just a couple of knocks here and there. Felt a little bit harder than what I was used to for in school rugby and other representative teams that I'd played, and I think they knew that I was a youngster, and they targeted me a little bit, but there was a lot of respect there too, I think, after the game. And I think that's what I appreciate about the sport, right? It's like you belt the crap out of each other, and then after the game there's a lot of respect there, and you just kind of leave things on the so yeah, I played for Northern Districts, and then that was fifth form, I believe. And so that was kind of, some international exposure in terms of like the playing level. And there are a lot of, grown men on the team, obviously. And it was nice to sort of knock shoulders with them. And I had a great time. Yeah, it's played at Davies Park, which is in my hometown. And so mum and dad were there, and all my family. And like I said, I can't remember the score, but I think we did okay. I think we did pretty good. And I know I played pretty well.
Brilliant, man. Brilliant. That must have been a hell of an experience. Which also led you to let's talk about the Warriors. How did the Warriors come calling? How did you sign with them? And what was that whole process? Because were you still playing rugby union as well? And did they sort of pinch you out of the union system?
Yeah, so I mean, yes and no. I would say, like, I was always, from the age of 5, I was playing rugby league. So I didn't start picking up rugby union until I was about 12 or 13. Like, I started when I went to Southall. So I went to Southall School, which is a private primary school in Hamilton, and that was like my last year in primary school, form 2, if that's how it used. I think that's what it was called back then, form 2. So I went to Southall in form 2, and I got a scholarship to go there for rugby and school, obviously. So I must have been 12 at the time, or 13. And at that point, I started, getting recognized by the rugby coaches because I was playing rugby. So that's when all the rugby stuff started. So I played, Waikato under 13s, 14s, 15s, and Roller Mills tournaments and everything all through high school. But I was doing the same thing for league. So I was playing and training with my club team, even though I was at school, playing first 15. I think a lot of boys were playing both, so league and rugby. So I know at one point in time, I don't want to say that they did this for me, but I'm pretty sure they did. But they moved the league from Saturdays to Sundays, so that
Really?
rugby boys could play league on Sunday because we were clashing, like teams were clashing so much with the rugby union schools, and like there was just no flexibility there at all to move, games around so that guys could play mornings and afternoons, and that's pretty tough too, right? To go and play, league in the morning, rugby in the afternoon, and so. But that's what I was doing. I was playing rugby on Saturday and league on Sundays, and training like every day basically during the week. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday rugby union, Tuesday, Thursday league, play rugby Saturday, league Sunday. So I did that for about 3 years. Through the rugby league season, and I was going to Waikato League tournaments, and they had Hopu Hopu and Narawakia there. They have the national tournament, so I would attend that one, and I went there when I was a 15-year-old playing under 16s, and then a 16-year-old playing under 16s, and that's where they have all the scouts, NRL scouts, and the Warriors scouts were there, and Bobby Hall was his name. He was the Warriors. Basically, league scout back in the mid-90s, showing my age now. So Bobby Hall first sort of approached me and my family at the tournament and said, "Hey mate, I'm from the Warriors, and we're very interested in signing you up as a scholarship player and give you a tracksuit." And I think I was getting $5,000. It was 16-year-old getting $5,000. I'm like, where do I sign? And
exactly.
Free medical care, and access to all their doctors and physios and trainers, and then I sort of started in getting involved in the Warriors Academy. So I was going to Auckland, Monday, Wednesday, Friday nights, and there's a lot of travel, there's a lot of driving, and eating a lot of food, and still going to school and trying to juggle all of that and play rugby and study, and don't know how I did it all, and but I did, and yeah, that's kind of how it started with the Warriors, was the scholarship through the New Zealand 16s national tournaments, and so I made the under 16s team that year. We did pretty well. I think we played Parramatta in Australia, and that's the year that I had to kind of focus on league or rugby, because I'm like, I can't keep doing this, like train every day and play rugby and then league every weekend for like a full season. It was just too much. So I had to choose rugby league at that point. And then I actually did my ACL the next year, so I didn't play a lot in sixth form. So it was the first game of the season. I was actually playing league, and my school wasn't happy. So I did my ACL. I think it was week 2 of the league season for Tani Whito under 18s, and I was meant to be playing, league and rugby at the same time. But yeah, so I think I remember I did it in like April, and then I was trying to rehab it because I wasn't sure what it was. I was going to the physio. They were like, yeah, it's, your ACL's not good. So I was trying to avoid surgery, which looking back now, I'm like, you can't really avoid surgery. If you want to play again and you've got a snapped ACL, you're going to have to get it reconstructed. So I didn't do, I tried, and I actually played 3 first 15 games with a snapped ACL. And
You're kidding.
So I played 3 games. I played 3 games back to back, and even more teammates like, mate, you all right, man? Like you just don't sort of have, like you don't look dynamic, and I was like, nah, I'm not. I'm like, my knees just, I don't know what's going on. And I do remember specifically, it was a game, I think we were playing Hamilton Boys High, and I was warming up, and I went to just kind of step, and it just, and I still remember that feeling to this day. And I'm like, man, that's not normal. Like something's going on here. But I finished the game. I played the whole game.
Oh my God.
And then after the game, I actually played 3 weeks of rugby, and then I had to play. There was a league game that I had to play, and I remember kicking the ball, and I bombed the ball, and as I landed, my knee just gave way, and it was just like buckled, and I'm on the ground just in agony, like like something's wrong, And I looked to the sideline, and I'm like, get up, you're okay, and I'm like, no, I'm not okay.
Oh, okay.
There's something not right here. So at that point, because I don't believe at that point I'd had a scan, so there was just like laxity in the knee, and the physios are like, yeah, this is like doesn't feel good, but there wasn't any confirmation that my ACL was gone at that point. But it was gone. So I had to get an X-ray, an MRI through the Warriors, and they got me into the see their doctors pretty quickly. And then I think it was I was booked in I think around August that year to get the surgery done. So I didn't play much that 2000. I think it was 2000. The year 2000 I didn't play much, and then had to do the rehab obviously. So that wasn't a lot of fun throughout that period. But
No.
thankful that I was at least, you know, in with the Warriors, and I had a good school that I was going to at the time, and they looked after me too and made sure that I was, you know, being cared for. But yeah, I did play with my ACL snapped in half, so it wasn't
mental,
fun.
man.
Yeah.
So what's it like as a young Lance Hohaia walking into the Warriors when you're sort of getting up to that first grade side? 2002, there's, you know, your Stacey Jones, your Kevin Campions, your Owen Guttenfields. What do you go through as a young fella when you're into that
pretty
environment?
daunting. Really daunting, because I, you know, as I said, with the development stuff that we were doing, there was a little bit of crossover between, you know, the Warriors finishing training for the day around 4:30ish, and then us coming in and training between sort of 4:30 and 7:30 at night-ish in the afternoons, evenings, depending on, you know, a few different things. And so you'd see the guys around, and man, there's Ali Lautiti and Clinton Tupi and Basie and you know, all these legends that I was watching, you know, whilst I was in school. So so I had a little bit to do with them, and you know, I think they obviously knew of me because I was around, and you know, I was the same when I was playing. You sort of know, you know, who are the kids coming through that that have got some ability, and I feel that it was definitely daunting. I think Stacey in particular, you know, looked after me really well. Monty took me under his wing a lot. Logan and I are still really close now. We still, you know, we still chat pretty often, and you know, he's come to stay with me over here in the US a few times, and whenever I go home, I will catch up with them, and you know, make sure I go out of my way to see them. And I think I was lucky that I had, you know, some good leaders on the team, and you know, they kicked me in my backside when I needed it, and because I was young, I think I was the youngest by like 3 years in the professional squad. I was 18, and then I think Mutu was the next one. Mutu was 21, Mutu Tony, but I was youngest by quite a way, and there weren't a lot of 18-year-olds running around back then. I think it's a lot different now. You know, it's a young man's game, but back when I was 18, there weren't many other 18-year-olds around playing NRL. So, and there was no, you know, reserve grade really for the Warriors in particular that were playing regularly. So we were playing through the Bartercard Cup, so I played a lot of Bartercard Cup the previous year. After I basically did my ACL, I was still in high school, so my last year in high school I was playing for Manurewa Marlins in the Bartercard Cup. They were the kind of closest to where I was, because I just said to them, like, look, you know, like, where do you want me to play? Because I'm not driving away over to, you know, hours away from Hamilton and after school just to get to training. So they said, how about you play for Manurewa? We'll get you, like, they're down south there, and it's close to Huntley. And so I started playing the Manurewa Marlins in the Bartercard Cup, and we had a good team, had some good little players there, and so I got a bit of a taste for, you know, Auckland Rugby League scene, and played about 8-9 games, I think, in the Bartercard. And then that was 2001. So, and I was training with the Warriors every Tuesday. So I was going to training with the full-time squad. So I'd actually, so I'd go to school Monday, and then my mum and dad's neighbors in Huntley owned a farm, and their kids were a bit older than me. They were living in Auckland at the time, so just an Onehunga. So I would actually go to school Monday, and then after school go up to their house, stay with them for the night, and then Tuesday I'd go to Warriors training, first grade training. And the school was fine with that, like my high school. And so I'd go to training with the first grade team, and then whatever time training finished, I'd head back to Huntley and go to school on Wednesday, and then I'd go back up to academy training on Wednesday, and then I'd have to go home school Thursday, and then I have to come back up for Bartercard training Thursday night, and then academy training Friday night, and then Manurewa Bartercard Saturday. So I wasn't playing rugby at that point. That it was just too much. I was doing academy, Warriors Academy, Bartercard training, and then playing men's rugby league in Auckland. And crazy. So it was kind of, you know, that was the year before my debut. So it's a bit hectic.
Man, that's a crazy schedule, man. So speaking of your debut, it was against the North Queensland Cowboys, if I'm correct. an absolute
Yep.
demolition of the Cowboys.
Yep.
And then the following week, you played the Northern Eagles at a 68-10 drubbing. So
Yeah.
your first two games, I think you scored tries as well
I did.
in both
I got
games.
one on debut. Yep. My mate
Yeah,
Webby threw a hole there on a scrum. I think we had a scrum play. It was, I forget what it was called, but essentially he just had some really good footwork. So his aim was to just put some footwork on his man, get to the inside shoulder of my man, and I'm just going to punch outside that that shoulder of the second defender. So sure enough, Webby puts his twinkle toes on and he beats his man in front of him, and he zips towards my defender. He turns in at Webby, and I'm just running a short ball outside Webby, and we did that a lot, I think, over the years. And we just had this understanding, like we were actually good friends, Webby and I, and
yeah,
I we just had that sort of
yeah,
that intuition of each other's play, and most of the I had quite a few teammates that you get to know them, you train with them, you recognize their strengths and their weaknesses, and you know what they do well, and you take advantage of those things for yourself, right? And so yeah, really enjoyed playing with Webby. Set me up for a try. Super humid and hot up in
yeah, man.
Townsville. But yeah, we had a great game. I know Big Mark Tukey put the big step on and
Yeah,
ran
man. That's
about
the one.
put Tukey away for a try, and yeah, we played really well that year. And then like you said, went back home, and I think that was like maybe Stacey's 150th game, the
Yeah, he
68.
got three tries, and
Yeah,
then you
so,
flogged
so
him.
we had a lot to play for. There was plenty of motivation for us to get out there and perform. And Stacey was a legend at the time, and he still is, obviously. And
Yeah,
it was a big milestone game for him, so we wanted to make it a special one. And yeah, I was super, just at the time, young and happy to be involved, and running off Stacey's hip, and
yeah, pretty awesome, mate.
my
I
first game in front of the Ericsson crowd at the time, and
was at the game.
um,
It was good.
yeah, that was a special time, and obviously had a lot more special moments too. But yeah, I think I got a try in that game too.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Were
off
you
the line.
nervous for your debut in those initial first few games?
Yes and no. I would say, I guess I was definitely nervous, but I didn't have a lot of responsibility on my
Okay.
shoulders. Daniel Anderson was really good at the time, and he had a lot of faith in me, and my teammates did. I didn't really feel a lot of pressure to perform.
Okay.
It wasn't like I had to, go out there and guide the ship and perform to a certain level. There was just like, hey, I really want you to get out there and just, play within our systems. You've got some freedom to do that, and
Yep.
get yourself involved, make your tackles, communicate, just do all the stuff that you've been doing at training, and you'll be fine. And he just, yeah, didn't really say huge amount. Even when he asked me, I know he has been asked about this a couple of times, Daniel, where he said, you know, he told me about, okay, I'm going to start you this week. You ready? And I was like, yep. And that was it. Like, I was like, yep,
Just like that.
I'm ready. I'm ready to go. And inside, I'm like nervous, and I'm worried, and I'm anxious, and I'm having all these things. But I didn't feel the need to say all of that. I just said, yep,
Okay.
I think I'm ready. And he just talks about like that's kind of how I was as a kid. I was just, I try not to let too much phase me. And
Okay.
I think I had some good, I had some good guys around me that were looking after me, and felt that I belonged in the team and sort of understood my role, and just went out there and had some fun. So that's what he told me to do, and that's what I did.
Yeah, man, you certainly did. And like during the season, there was a patch where you really had to step up when Stacey was out for about 7 or 8 weeks. And it was
Yep.
yourself, Mossy Tony, like Clinton Torpy really stood up. Brent Webb got thrust into the team quite a lot as well. And you guys, you young guys really led the side, and you didn't lose momentum at all. Like, how did you handle that
Yeah.
sort of phase of the season?
Yeah, I think it was, as I said, I think it was nice to have, we sort of spread the, I guess, in terms of Mutu, myself, Webby, we kind of spread the leadership workload there for the halfback role.
Yes.
We all kind of banded together and created our own little Stacey between the three of us. And yeah, I mean, obviously he was bringing a lot to the team at the time, and a lot of the
Yeah.
game plan, attacking game plan, was based around him. And that works out really well, obviously, when he's fit and available. And I think when he wasn't available, we had to change things a little bit, but we had the coaching and the intelligence on the team to make those adjustments pretty quickly. And thankfully, Daniel trusted us a lot and allowed us to get out there and sort of play our style as well without sort of forcing us to play a certain way. And at the time, we were just playing with confidence, pass to somebody in a better position than yourself, carry the ball, count numbers. If they put 2 there, go, and we've got 3, go there. Try and hit different points on the field and figure out their weaknesses and keep peppering them and kick the ball on, kick chase. I mean, it was, it was fairly. The game plan was simple but effective. And then when you throw in the offloads and then the ad lib rugby league that we were doing so well at the time, then your instincts just take up. So I think we were lucky. We just had a good mixture of youth experience, Australians and Polynesians, and
flair.
just kind of worked really well for us that year. And like you said, you take Stacey out of the team. I think Ali had to miss about 4 games too, and he was our he was our magician out there in the back row. And I think it was a knee injury that he had that he was missing for a period of time. And then we had, the Wairangi's and the Sionis and all the other guys that could come in and do a job in the back row, Arwen and Logan. And we just had,
that guy. So Richard Belsanti, it's just so many guys.
Jerry Susu and it was a good team. Good team.
What a pain. So you guys finished minor premiers, out of absolutely nowhere. The Warriors were nearly dead and buried 2 seasons before. They nearly didn't exist. You guys finished minor premiers. You're on a hot streak. You're pinching yourself. You're at a team that's just won, top of the ladder at the end of the season. Is that like a massive?
Yeah, mate, I was, and I was getting win bonuses too. So
nice.
my contract was X amount of dollars for the base basically, and then I had a parents fee and win bonus. So I was getting the parents fee and win bonus on top of that all the way through the season. And I think we won 22 games, and I played all of those. And so it was a great time. But I mean, I think, when I look back on 2002, I think that obviously built up from that, Eric Watson, when he got involved, and there was a change that was coming. And I think I was lucky to be a part of that change. And, and I'd seen those things too as a youngster from, under 16 all the way through to my debut when I was 19. So it wasn't very surprising to me to see that things were starting to work out. And, the systems, Daniel Anderson had a lot to do with all of that, the systems and, the pathways and just, creating a competitive environment and professionalism. And, Mick Watson, when he was involved too as CEO. And, it was a wild ride. That's for sure. And, I'm super thankful that I was, able to be a part of that, because, we certainly didn't. We had some bad years too that shortly after that.
Yeah, well, mate, it was, following the Warriors that year, it had to be the most exciting year in the history of rugby league in New Zealand, to see the Warriors not just being competitive, but thrashing teams, good teams. Sure. The Brisbane Broncos win, I think, when Stacey Jones scored. He went through and put Mally away to finish the try to seal the match. And it was epic, man. That sort of clutch play, something we weren't used to.
For sure. There were some, some phenomenal performances throughout that whole year. And then even in 2003, I can just remember, like you said, some of the big games that we hadn't sort of won before, and we weren't quite able to overcome, the certain adversity, and even, teams had talked us down, and all the Aussie commentators, saying we can't do this, we can't last, and we can't play beyond 60 minutes, and they're not going to get to this point, they're not consistent. And then we did all of that stuff. We did everything they said we couldn't do, and some, and we obviously almost won the grand final 2002. We were, a smidge away from that result being a little bit different. So great year. It was a great year.
Yeah. Well, on that grand final, well, a little bit on that final series, you came off the bench in all 3 of the finals matches. So your debut season, you're playing in these massive games, you get on for the grand final. just how crazy is it out there, especially after going through that Sharks semi-final win, like probably one of the most complete performances in the Warriors' history.
Yeah, I think there was a plan, and Daniel wanted to rely a little bit more on Mutu's experience at six, and truthfully, he had probably some decent games that were overshadowing mine a little bit in the back end of the season, which is fair, and I think that's what you should play whoever's performing the best and pick whoever's playing in those positions that suit the team best. And so I was happy with that role, and I still remember like walking out the tunnel, and the stadium and the people and just the crowd and just the sea of people. That's is a pretty surreal moment. And I still remember walking out, probably more so the 2011 final. As a 29-year-old, 28-year-old, I was able to kind of take that on board a little bit more. But yeah, 2002 went by quick. It was. I remember the lead up week. I remember all the games, the preliminary games, like you said, the Sharks game, and the grand final week in particular, and all the trainings we did, and all the fanfare and the excitement. But the game itself, I've watched it and I'm like, I don't remember that at all. Like, I don't remember making a pass. I don't remember making that tackle. I did dislocate my finger in the game, so I remember that. And like back into the position, and one of the trainers had to come out and pop it back in the spot. And
Nasty.
yeah, but it was great. It was a great weekend. Awesome memory to have.
It's pretty special to like be part of that first ever grand final Warriors side. Like that's you can't ever take that away from you. You didn't get the win, but like for the first team to ever make it a final, that's pretty huge.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's something I'm super proud of. I know the country and our fans were, just really proud of the team as well for the season we'd had, for the respect we'd earned, for our team, our country, our nation, and it was awesome to be a part of that, and super thankful, and I sure wish the result had gone our way. But that doesn't take away a lot. Would have been a little bit more special, obviously, to have the ring. But to make it that far and to experience that was it was pretty special as well.
Yeah, man. And the things only got better after the season finished. You made your debut for the Kiwis, end of the season against Australia. So when did you find out you'd made the side, and just like, how special was that, a big occasion for you?
Yeah, so we had a bit of a celebratory few days after the grand final, as a team, and just decompressed a little bit for a few days, and just I think the representative coaches are fairly respectful of that in most cases. But we had heard that probably a lot of the Warriors boys will be in the Kiwi team this year, and that was a lot of talk in the media and through the coaching staff. And so I believe we got back to New Zealand from Sydney like Sunday evening, or maybe it was Monday evening, I can't remember, but it was the day after the grand final. And then we had a few team barbecue drinks and things like that. We got together, and I believe we had like a thing at Ericsson Stadium where the girls and good wives and partners and kids are all involved, and we had a bit of a celebration at Ericsson Stadium. So at that point, our team manager was saying, "Hey, just want to let you know that you're going to be selected for the Kiwis." And he let all of us know that we were going to. So just you got to cut that drinking on the head, basically. And we're all like, yeah, whatever. And so we went out for another night. Didn't pay too much attention to that. But obviously, it was something that we're super, it's important to us that we'll represent our country and play for the Kiwis. And so I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday morning, we had to sort of go into camp in Wellington. And so we had to meet at the airport, and, most of us are still a little bit dusty from the grand finals. And, but we played Australia that weekend. So we had to get to Wellington and, get into camp and try and get together. So there wasn't a lot of time at all. We played at the Cape Town, so that was my first test. But I think we did okay. I do remember that game. I remember, running out at the Cape Town and, looking down at the fern and the Kiwi and thinking how proud it was. And I do remember the national anthem, and the game itself. So pretty special to do that. And then we went on an 8-week tour to the UK. So that was I think it was the last of the big long tours, the Kiwi tours. But that was a special trip. It was like the Stephen Kearneys and Rookies all, in their prime, and Hohaia and Stacey, and we just had a great team that year, and I think we won one, we drew one, and we lost one to the Pommies. So and we played like midweek games against Hull, and I played in that one. I think I started in halfback for one of those games. There was a game against St Helens. I didn't play that one. There was like midweek games that we'd have as well, but it was an 8-week tour. Yeah, a lot of fun. Can't say too much more about what else we did, but a lot of fun. Yeah, a lot of good training and camaraderie, and sightseeing, and played the Frenchies as well over in Perpignan, and they actually almost beat us. And it was like halftime. We got a bit of a rocket because Gary Freeman was the coach, and I think we started with a young team, and maybe he was expecting us to get out there and do the job, and they fired up, the French guys did, and they actually played really well. They had 3 Kiwi guys on the team that were living in France, and they'd been playing local, and they played a really tough game. And halftime, he had to put all the big guns on, and I think I played the full game. I kicked most of the game. I think it's the most points I've scored in a test. Was that particular game. But I had a good game. I got player of the match for that one. They gave me an award at the end of the game, and they said something in French, and they were all looking at me like, "You got to go up," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I had to, take the award, and but it was a fun trip. We had a great time. Good bunch of guys. That was kind of my introduction to like the Kiwis culture and the Kiwi system. So was able to stay there for the next 10 years or so. So that was pretty cool.
So it wasn't that long, down the road that you actually got your first Test victory over the Kangaroos. 2005, you played the series opener of the Tri Series, playing hooker. So was that like a position you kind of was playing a lot of? Did you start preferring hooker over halves? And what's it like, playing the likes of Darren Lockyer, Andrew Johns, Brent Tate, Mark Gasnier, Steve Price, like crazy side, and you guys got the win?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I love competing against the Aussie boys. They were they set the benchmark for such a long time. And I think a lot of the Kiwis have caught up since then. And same with the English team. They're always good, quality, tough, strong, athletic, skillful teams. And I was always up for the challenge. I mean, I as I said, I enjoyed playing the Aussie guys. You know a lot about them. The fear factor is, I wouldn't say it's like we're afraid of that. It's just like what they're capable of, right? And that's the nervousness of that. Like, man, we're gonna have to play really well to beat these guys. So that was how I would feel each time you play Australia. Like, I know we can perform well. I know we can compete, but we're gonna have to play really well because they're a real smart, competitive, classy team. But I loved it. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun to get out there and test yourself against the best, and they were the best at the time, and we hadn't really beaten them consistently up until that point. And then we obviously over the next few years we'd started to do that a lot. But enjoyed that one. It was nice to get that first one. It was a special one too.
Yeah, man. Get one over the Aussies. That's the way. And then moving forward a bit more, 2007, you had an amazing season at the Warriors. They finished top 4 after the whole salary cap debacle of 2006, which you probably would have made the finals if not for that. But you had guys like Michael Witt come in, Wade McKinnon was on fire, and then you had Corey Laurie, our Cantabrian, Panther. What was it like playing alongside those guys when they all arrived at the club?
It was great. It was great. I mean, I think they sort of came at a time when, the club had some success, the 2003, 2004, 2003, 2002, 2003 were good years. 2004 was not a good year at all. We were second last. We sort of we'll scrap that one from the memory book. But
absolutely.
2005, we signed Pricey, we signed Ruben Wiki. There's a change in the air. We bring on some of these players that you've talked about, like, not superstars, but quality guys and good players. And if, in our system and in our, underneath the guidance of our coaches were fabulous for us, and they were all around the same age as me, and we sort of had, none of us had kids and wives and serious girlfriends and things like that. So we kind of knocked around a lot together, and we had a lot of fun. And Wade, Michael, and Grant Ravelli and Feeney and Michael Witt, and we were, as I said, we were a pretty close knit group, and we were able to stay together for Simon Mannering for the next sort of 6-7 years, and that was a lot of fun. And I'm still really close with all those guys now, and if I saw them today, I would give them a big hug, and it would be like it was just yesterday that I had seen them. So we were I think Lucky was a great buy. Michael Luck was a great buy for the club. I think he was, I have a lot of respect for him. He's a good person, first and foremost. I think that he's just a great guy, good character, and then he was just tough as nails. He didn't take a backward step. I really appreciated his standards and his expectations for himself and everybody else around him. And he was a bit of a mentor for Simon Mannering, I would say. I think Simon just kind of fed off that, and he was just like, I love this. Let's play this way, and let's train this way, and then it just became our team standards. And that was on the back of guys like Campion and Arwen and Monty and that have been before us. And we just kind of piggybacked off those standards. And we don't want a repeat of 2004, and these are the things that we have to do to make sure that we keep moving forward. And we added Pricey and Ruben, and we had some leadership on the team, and we got Brent Tate, who was another fantastic guy and good friend of mine, an awesome player. Like to have the quality that we had, and big Manu Vatuvei and Jerome, and it was just an awesome team to be a part of those next sort of 4 years, really 5 years, 2011. So it was a lot of fun, mate.
Yeah, so that 2008 season, you pretty much, like Wade McKinnon did his ACL, and you thrown into fullback out of absolutely nowhere. Had you played any fullback before, or was it something you were comfortable with, or did you just
not really? I think there was a day at training, and this goes back to the sport stuff. Like I feel that throughout my life, I've been able to just kind of pick up things and have a crack and be pretty decent at whatever sport it was. And
one of those annoying people.
Yeah, that's how I was as a kid. I was just really like, I think I can do that. I played cricket. I've never played cricket before. I can bowl and bat and field and play badminton and did gymnastics, and I did everything. And I just really enjoyed. I was just liked athletic things. And so there was one day I was at training, and something happened, and one of the boys went down with an injury, and so it was like an opposed session. And Ivan was like, Lani, just jump at fullback for a second. I want, we'll, just have a run there. And so I had a run there, and I was just carving everyone up. And then so that's kind of where it came from. It was like an opposed session, 2 teams, and it was just one day of training basically, where I was catching ball and I just kind of made up how to play there. I just didn't play like a traditional fullback. I just trusted my instincts and turned up on a short side and played like a third half, 6-7 half role. And then, in the attacking plays, this just works seamlessly. So, like sort of sniffing around the ruck and, being a support player, and that was part of my game that I really enjoyed. And I didn't really get to do that as much sort of out on the edges at 6 or 7, because you got to control a lot and communicate. And so the fullback role was attractive in terms of like the support play and the freedom to just roam. Obviously catching and spiral bombs with snow on them was the worst part of the job.
That'd be fun.
Probably the weakest part of my game at fullback, which I was happy to admit. But I really enjoyed the role. I really enjoyed the freedom. I enjoyed the communication. I enjoyed like being able to have a voice like behind the ruck too, and direct the guide, and just be a bit more of a leader for helping our halves and stuff, and just be a sort of third pair of eyes for them, for things that we needed to get set. So I think, our halves definitely appreciated that too, because they can sort of have somebody back there, guiding and directing and orchestrating things too. And then I would see opportunities and just slot into where I needed to be. So I really enjoyed it. And then Wade got injured in the trial. It was the first trial of the season in 2008. So he went in for a tackle, and it was like pretty innocuous, where it's like went to kick the ball, and the fullback slid, and just he kind of went over. He went over the guy, and his knee hyperextended, and it didn't look like much. And then I was on the field at the time, and I was like, oh shit, it didn't look great. And then I was like, you okay? Because the play had stopped, and he's like, yeah, I think so. But he tried to run it off, and then I think he jogged for a little bit longer. Then he was like, no, I think something's going on here. I got to go off. So he went off, and then I think I played fullback for the rest of that game and did pretty well. I think I can't remember who we played, but it was a good team, Melbourne or Manly or somebody like that. And yeah,
That was Newcastle.
Newcastle. Okay. It was in North Harbour.
Yeah.
But I remember the game because, funnily enough, like 2007, I hadn't played consistently. Ivan was sort of pushing me around positions, and there was like, I hadn't solidified a spot. So that preseason, the 2007 preseason, I was basically, and I tell this to the guys that I coach at the moment about like determination and desire, and like why, like what's your why, like what gets you out of bed each day. And I just really wanted to be the best version of myself, and I wanted to be one of the top players in the world. That was what I wanted to achieve. And I said, how do I do that? What are the things that I need to do? And I needed to cut out my partying lifestyle, which was distracting me a little bit at the time. So I cut that out of my life quite a lot in 2007, like the summer and the leading into the preseason of 2008. I was running a lot. I was working out, doing extra stuff. I was doing a lot of video, working on myself, basically trying to become a better person and reach my potential. So, and there were times where I was like going for a run at midnight. Like I'm in bed and I'm like, I'm just motivated, and I get up and go for a run, and it's midnight. And Steve Price, somebody knew Pricey that saw me running at midnight. They must have just recognized me running along the road, and it was literally, I'm running, and I just had all this energy and all this like determination to get where I needed to get to, just because I'm like, this is what I need to do to get to where I want to go. And Price was like, what were you doing at fucking midnight running? And I was like, who's told you that? And he said, somebody said you. And I said, mate, I'm just like laser focused on trying to get better and get in the best shape I can. And I did like the best beep test I'd ever done that preseason. I was flying through all the fitness drills we were doing. And so I was ready for an opportunity. And then it came, and that's sort of the rest was history after that 2008 season. Yeah, get in there and stay there and play well. And that was probably my best year of footy, 2008, I think. Best year.
Absolutely. So you played fullback most of the season, and then you guys made the top 8. You had that famous win over Melbourne in the finals. Like, how epic was that, man?
Yeah, it was awesome. That was the year we did the beards. We had our culture was, like I said, like there were times through that season where we all weren't drinking for weeks and months and months and months. Like I believe it was about a 6-month period where the last part of the season where none of us were drinking at all. We were just all like, yep, boys, this is what we're doing. This is where we're going. This is how we're going to do it. Like, who's in? And then everybody was like, okay. And then some people, there was a couple, and even with the beards, like guys like, no, I don't want to have a beard. And we're like, listen, if we're going to do this, like we have to all do it. We've got to be all, we can't have anybody half in, half out. So we did that, and we did the beards, and we did no drinking, and it worked out really well. So we just built on that culture, and we had the belief, and we had that. We always enjoyed the battles against Melbourne, because I think they were always high quality games. There was always a lot of attacking action and defensive plays, and they played a little bit of a similar style in some ways, and we kind of adjusted our game a little bit when we played them too. I don't think we were expansive as we normally would be against them, because they would just punish us. So I think we had a great team that year. We had a lot of classy players, and Pricey's, and and Lucky and Simon and Brent Tate, and so we had a lot of experience on the team, and we went out there with a lot of confidence that we could beat them, because we've done it before, and we'd beaten them at home before. So it was nice to rain on their party that year, and obviously got us to the home. I think it was a home quarter final against the Roosters. So
yeah, man, you got a double that night, didn't you?
I did, yes. Scored
Yeah,
under the post. I remember that one.
you got the first
But
try, didn't you? Yeah.
that particular game, the Roosters game, that was a special one. Like back home, that after
Yeah.
that, I'm in Melbourne, the country was a buzz, and this, Mount Smart at the time, or Ericsson as it was named, was
So
just,
good,
yeah,
man.
it was a
I was
fortress.
there. It
So
was the best night. It was such a
it was a
game.
blackout.
Wow.
They had a blackout theme, and everybody was just all wearing black. And
Yeah.
I remember talking to the Roosters boys, like, "Oh, mate, we were just like, man, this is going to be a tough day." when they come out. And they were playing well too. They had Minicello and Mitchell
Yep.
Pearce, and they're
Freddie.
great. Yeah, at the time. So it was a good win for us.
Yeah, Freddie was the coach, and so you guys were actually down at halftime, and then you just slaughtered them in the second half. Aiden Kirk had a really good game. A bit of an underrated player. He was amazing.
Got that
Yeah,
runaway, and was it an intercept? I think it was
that's the
on the
one.
edge there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yep,
What a game!
yeah.
What a game! That was so good. And then there was that whole debate whether you should be still fullback, because Wade McKinnon was back the next week for
Yep,
that match against Manly for the semi-final, but he
yep.
eventually won the spot. And did you come off the bench, or did you start in that match somewhere else?
Uh, Truthfully, I can't recall.
Yep.
I think I was off the bench, and they started Wade, and then I believe we didn't start so well, and they put me on. So I think, yeah, I mean, when you got a winning team, right, and there's dynamic going on, and looking back, maybe they should have just left me there and brought Wade on if he needed to. But in hindsight, you learn things, right? So I guess they went with what they thought was the best approach to start the game, and you know, it is what it is.
It is. And then that led on to the World Cup where you were selected at fullback. And you guys, you won the World Cup, first time for New Zealand. You scored a double, unbelievable. Far out, man. What's that whole World Cup experience like? And seeing Billy Slater panic and throw that pass over to Benji to seal the game, like, mate, what a game. Best day of my life. New Zealand wins the World Cup. How good.
Yeah, mate. It was as I said, it's probably outside of the birth of my children. Yeah, greatest day of my life. It was fantastic experience. Just the feeling, and looking around. I remember looking at Nathan Feeney was a good mate of mine, and Benji, Simon, Sammy Rapira. Guys that I'd played a lot
Yeah.
with over the last 5 years, and definitely experienced some losses, and been through some struggles, and all of that. So to be able to get through, the first, even the first game, the Aussies beat us in third gear basically,
Yeah.
and we didn't play near as well as we should have, and Wayne Bennett ripped us a new one basically after the game. After that one, he actually sat Benji, myself, Feeney, Isaac, Luke. He sat us all down and just like ripped us to shreds, like one by one, basically, after the game. Yeah. And we were just like, everything he said was true. It wasn't like demoralizing or demeaning or anything. It was just like direct and honest truth to each and one of us
Yeah.
about like what he expected of us. And
Wow.
he was right. And we all, like, they left, and like he basically kind of just got up and walked off, and we were like, fuck. Like, yeah, he's right. We all just kind of sat there, and we talked about, I think Tommy Luluwai was there too, actually, and he said, this is where the World Cup's going to be won, you boys, and you guys let your country down, you let your jersey down, you may as well fucking give it to your grandma could do better. He was like saying all the stuff to us basically.
Wow.
And it was just like, it was aimed at lighting a fire under us, and it certainly worked. I think that next week at training, he saw a difference in just our approach and our attention to the game, and he was like, World Cups, you can't wait. There's no time. There's no tomorrow. You got to make things happen now. This is the time. This is your time. This is for your time to shine. And there's like, you've got to find the way to do that. So we had a bit of a chat, amongst the kind of spine of the team, and we held each other accountable at training and pushed each other, and ultimately that served us pretty well in the games. But we did play a lot better against I think we had England and Newcastle the next weekend, and we all five of us played really well, and the rest of the team did too. But I think it started, from the intentions and the crispness of our play, and I think set Manu up a couple tries on the wing there, and I think we grew in confidence at that point. Like, okay, like this is on us, and we've all experienced enough, and I was 25. We're all sort of 25, 26, 23 at the time. We were young guys, but we were absolutely experienced and capable of leading the team and helping us win a World Cup. So, Benji winning the Golden Boot that year, I think, he was playing out of the skin at the end of the tournament. Nathan Feen was playing fabulous. Isaac Bully was awesome around the ruck. Tommy as well. So yeah, it was really enjoyable, really fun. And just, to have somebody like Wayne Bennett in camp too was kind of special, and created a little bit of a different dynamic that we maybe hadn't had before, and just the honestness and the standards of like where we need to be as people, as young, as men, as players, and just be relentless and consistent towards those standards. And I still live my life and coach to those standards to this day. I think it's important to have standards and expectations in life, and I take all of those lessons and learnings right from my time as an athlete, and try and implement those into my life and teach my kids and people that I coach. And I think that's super important. And we're able to win a World Cup off the back of that, just through standards and talent, mixed together, and having those expectations on each other, and accountability and commitment, because we had a fabulous group that year. We had guys that were playing well for Melbourne, and we had guys at Penrith and the Warriors, and we had a great mixture of youth, and Nathan Kalis was there still playing, and Simon was playing player of the year stuff for the Warriors, and Sammy Rapira was one of the best props in the comp, and we got Jeremy Smith at Melbourne at the time, Adam Blair at Melbourne at the time. And, so it was a great team, great bunch of guys. We're all willing to work hard for each other and do the extras. And we just grew and grew and grew through that tournament. And we'd done that historically in the years before. Typically we wouldn't start well in a tournament style, but we would certainly get better over time. It was awesome, mate. Being in Brisbane and just like going back to the hotel, and the bus, we couldn't even get back to the hotel. Like we couldn't even get in, and people are just everywhere. And we had to, I think a few of the boys had to get off and be like, get out of the way. Like, and people are just crowding them, and we they're having hugs and stuff. I'm like, we need to get the bus like into the hotel, and then we can come and celebrate with you. So it was great. I mean, our hotel was just full of people. And the next few days were a little bit of a blur, but a lot of fun, a lot of cool memories, and probably my greatest achievement on the field for sure.
Yeah, man. Wasn't long later, 2010, you're at it again, beating Australia on the buzzer. As a Nathan Feen try after Jason Nightingale made that bust. Just before the sirens to go off, you beat Australia again. How exciting is that? And good for New Zealand to sort of know that you can do it again in a big game.
Yeah, because I think we were disappointing in 2009. The Aussies beat us. We went to the UK. We didn't perform well over there as well in the Tri Nations. And so, I thought, there was a little bit of a point to prove to the world about, 2008 wasn't a fluke. So, Benji, I think that was the year Benji was Golden Boot in 2010. So he was on fire that year for the Tigers. He was untouchable almost, and I think he had a fabulous season. And had he not been in the team, I'm not sure that we would have been able to pull that off. But we're lucky enough to play that game. I think Benji saw a bit of space out. I think it was a fifth tackle. Benji, he's been the risky player that he is. He saw an opportunity out there. They sort of held back a little bit and created some space for 90 on the wing there. So he threw that cutout ball, and I could kind of anticipate that too, because I could see the space out there on the edge, because they were sort of anticipating a kick. So he hit 90 on the chest, and 90's flying down the touchline there, and he throws the ball back in, and Feeney's trailing on the inside. I'm trailing on the inside. Nathan Fiend's trailing on the inside of me. And so, I'm watching it unfold, and I could see that Cooper Cronk's coming across to make the cover tackle on Benji, and I think Benji tries to beat him on his own, and I'm like, just give it to me, I'm right here. So he didn't pass to me, and tried to take him on, and then Cooper's tackled him obviously, and he's tossed it over his head, and I've just watched it go over my head. And I'm just hoping and praying that there's somebody there with a black and white jersey, and thankfully it's Feeney. And I've watched that end of that game a few times, or I've seen it highlights in that, and that's that's exactly what's going through my mind. I'm like, please be a black and white jersey over there. And yeah, Feeney was there, and he picked it up and scored under the post. So win it in that fashion. But as I said, I think in terms of the culture and the team and the players we had and the coaching and the expectations, like we knew we could certainly go there and win. But Benji was probably the difference for us that year, and he was playing out of his skin, and it's really enjoyable playing with those guys, and it was nice to get another win against the Aussies.
Hell yeah, man. I went apeshit when that happened. That was crazy. It was so good. So jumping forward, 2011, another massive game, and your final game for the Warriors, man. Going out with another grand final. What was it like to play in a grand final for the Warriors in your final game, but then know that you were leaving? Yes. What was the feelings like leaving the Warriors behind?
Yeah, it was sad, mate. It was pretty emotional. But I was lucky too. I got to go out in the biggest game that we could play. There was a lot of quality on our team and a lot of confidence in our team. We'd actually taken a pretty hard road to get to the final, and I think it was the 5th or 6th week in a row that we'd gone back to Sydney. So we're going back and forth for the last 2 games are away, and then every finals game away right up until. So we were spending a lot of time on the road, and we just kind of ran out of juice, I think, a little bit. I mean, unfortunately, there was no real way for us to get around that. We've got to get back to our families, we've got to train, and we've got to get back on a plane, and we've got to travel, and then get back to our families again in our home base and train. And so we did that, and we had the tough one against the Tigers in the last minute there when Chris and Inu snatched that ball up and maybe did a double movement and scored, but we got the points that day, and then the grand final week was awesome. I had my family was there, and I had a bit of a cry after the game, and it was a bit emotional to realize that it was all over, and but lucky too, happy tears, and I was lucky to have such a significant part of my life be a positive one with the club, and the years that we had some great years, and it was sad to leave, and I did have an option to stay for 2 years. So the club offered me, I think there are a couple of reports saying that the club wanted me out, but that wasn't true. That was never true. The club absolutely wanted me to stay, and they offered me a 2-year contract, and it was the same money that I was getting at St. Helens, but St. Helens offered 4 years. So at the time, I was engaged, and my fiance was pregnant with my 12-year-old. So I was thinking about my family and my future, and I wanted to go to the UK too, and travel. And I'd always had an interest in the Super League, and traveling around Europe, and experience. I'm a bit of a wanderer, so I like to travel and explore, and that enticed me to sort of just give it a shot. And I'd been at the Warriors for 12 years, including my academy days, so I just felt like it was time for a bit of a change, and I was kind of sick of Auckland, and it's like the public lifestyles, it's not the easiest at times, especially when things aren't going well, and I just felt like it might be nice to just get out of New Zealand for a little bit. I didn't anticipate being away for I've been away for 14 years now, so I didn't anticipate not really coming back, but I think life sort of ends up, things happen for a reason, right? And I really enjoyed my time in the UK, despite some not so positive things occurring there, but I loved it. It was great to play for a great club, and I was lucky to finish my NRL career on a high note in a grand final. And I was actually playing with a meniscus tear in my knee, so I got it like floor in one of the quarterfinal games, and it was basically just a split in my cartilage in my knee. So they said, if we do the surgery, like that's your Warriors career done. So I just had to kind of manage it and as best I
Right.
could. I wasn't doing a lot at the start of the week, and the coaching staff were okay with that. And Aaron Jeremiah was playing really well at hooker, so it wasn't a huge deal at the time, despite me not being sort of 100% fit. But yeah, so I had surgery on my knee, and then I sort of got to the UK a little bit behind the 8 ball, so I didn't get there until what was it, like just before December. And then I went to Hawaii and got married during that time too, which was kind of pre-planned. So it was a bit of a disruptive preseason to St. Helens,
Okay.
so my transition there. And they weren't super thrilled about, that, but I'm like, what do you want me to do? Like, I'm getting surgery on my knee, and I think it's best for me to stay in New Zealand and start my rehab here. And so they agreed to that, which was good. But yeah, it was nice to finish on a positive note with the Warriors, and we had, some time to say goodbye to everybody, and see my family, and have a bit of a leaving party and do all that stuff. And so I was comfortable with it. I was happy about the decision. Yeah.
Yeah. You'll certainly miss, that's for sure. So you said you went to St. Helens, 4-year deal. You got a minor premiership, and you finally got all the way. You got to a grand final again, and you finally got a win in the grand final. Obviously some
Yes.
stuff happened in that as well. But let's talk about the good stuff. Like, what's it like to finally lift that premiership trophy, and you've reached the top. And such a great club as well.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, they had lost 3 grand finals in a row prior to me getting there, 3 of 4. So, it was nice to be able to get to the grand final and win one, and under some different circumstances. But yeah, I think that year we were the form team. I was playing really well that year, and the beginning of the season, I actually had a bit of time out of the team, where the coach was, essentially at the time was trying to offload me to one of the other teams,
Really
Nathan Brownmore. Yeah. So he
great.
was playing with a young kid, and the young guy was doing okay and playing well, but he got injured, and then we had a lot of injuries to a few of the other guys. So I came back into the team, and I was just playing really well for the last sort of 12 weeks. And so that's part of the reason why I was pretty disappointed about the event that happened in the grand final. Yeah, disappointing to have a punch thrown, and an event happen where I wasn't able to complete the game. And I've sort of made peace with that, but it was disappointing. I know I worked really hard. I've worked my entire life to get to that point, basically. And to be able to, I could think at the time, even with the Warriors finals, like I feel like I had a lot more like say and control over the destiny of the team that day, like the 2014 2000 grand final with St. Helens. I think that I was playing as well as anybody on the team at the time. I was a key member of the team. I was probably in the best shape of my life at that point. Like, I was eating organic food and not
Yep.
drinking anything, just living a really, just a really disciplined life and off the field, and training really well, and I was taking everything as seriously as I could. And so that's where the disappointment for me came from, is that like I'd actually like got to the point where I was like so dedicated to my job, that I was feeling as well as I could, and I was playing well. I was looking after my body, I was feeling barely any injuries at the time at the back end of the season, which is almost unheard of. So
Yeah.
so that's where a lot of my disappointment came from, and a lot of that stuff was just between the 2 teams, the St. Helens and the Wigan rivalry. It was like,
Okay.
like hate each other. Like for
Yeah.
centuries and centuries, they've just hated each other. Like quite literally, like killing each other almost for centuries. So there's a pretty heated rivalry there, and there's a lot of tension in between the towns. And
Yeah.
St. Helens people never go to Wigan. Wigan people never come to St. Helens. It's just not
Okay.
something that you do. So I'd heard about all of these, the rivalry, and that year in particular, I was playing really well. And as I said, we had some injuries, and I would say that the coach probably had, an inclination for his players to target me in some way in terms of like, trying to nullify my game. But I have seen somewhere where they've talked about like they didn't really, intend for it to be that type of targeting. So, yeah, I mean, I've talked to Ben since then, and we've, sort of shook hands, and he's apologized, and we've both sort of moved on, and it's happened on the field, right? And I don't hold any grudges against him about anything at all. And, I know that people do silly things sometimes when they're emotional and heated, and there's tension. And like I said, like leading up to that game, there was a lot of tension. And it was by just history and the media and, the coaches. There's some stuff being said in the media too about the game and physically dominating each other and all this stuff. So that's the game, right? It's a confrontational physical game, and it's a war of attrition, and it's a battle. No, unfortunately it was just something that occurred that we all wish didn't.
Exactly, man. Exactly. So at least you go out with a grand final, and then the following year you hung up the boots a few rounds into the season. Was that sort of a flow-on effect from that incident in the final?
Yeah, I think. I mean, basically, I don't want to go over it too much because I think it, some people can take things the wrong way too, and eventually I just felt that I didn't quite have enough time to get myself right mentally, and I didn't feel 100% supported to do that or have the chance to do that, so that I could go back out and do my job again. And so there was some conversation, and there was some legal stuff going on between me and St. Helens that we were having some arguments that I will keep between them and I, and about some things. And I had to make a decision to pull the pin on my career for myself and for my own health. And at the time I had a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, so my family was important to me. And so that was happened pretty quickly, and it was unexpected, and it wasn't something that I'd really anticipated to happen that soon. I still felt like, even 3-4 years ago, I felt like I could probably still play physically. I run around nowadays, and I'm 41 now, and I get out of bed some days, I'm like, yeah, I could. What was I thinking? I could never play at that age, but mentally and like my competitiveness is still there, and I think, maybe I could have played another 2, 3, 4 years, at that level, had that not occurred. So, that was hard to accept for a while, and knowing that it was sort of all over was something that I just had to accept. So I just had to move on with that and deal with it as best I can. But it wasn't easy doing that at in the US. I moved from the UK to the US, and it was fairly isolating. And it's just hard to just leave it. It was isolating and stressful to be away from my family and just feel like, who am I now? Like, what am I going to do with my life? So that was a bit of a struggle for me, like when I moved to the US, away from my loved ones, away from familiarity, away from the game. There's no rugby league here. So that time in my life was a bit of a struggle. It contributed to my my divorce as well. So my ex-wife and I were on good terms, and we co-parent healthily and all of that. Now our kids mean a lot to us, but it did definitely impact, and the lifestyle too. It's not easy to be in the public eye for a significant other. There are things that that she didn't really like, and there were things that just came with being with somebody who's plays professional sport. So but we get on fine, and I'm doing good now, and my kids are happy, and she's happy, and I'm happy. So those are all the things that matter most.
Yeah, man. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that with us, man. I really do appreciate it. It's bloody fantastic to see you happy, and you still look fit as. And yeah, man, it's great.
I'm still trying to keep up with these kids, and as I said, I do the coaching, so I like to run around every now and then, and stay healthy, because I think that's that's therapy for me too, right? Is keeping myself fit and active and achieving things each week and physically and but no, things are great, and thanks for inviting me on your podcast. It's been nice to chat and and reminisce and I'm open about a lot of stuff in my life, so I'm happy to chat about those things too.
That's cool, man. Right, I just want to finish with two really quick questions, quick fire ones. I ask everybody, what's your favorite TV show or series of all time?
Oh, mate, I think honestly, probably The Simpsons is my favorite show. Like I have watched The Simpsons for a long time, and I would say yes. In the last 20 years, I've really enjoyed The Simpsons. So I'd have to say them when I think about my favorite show. I'd have to go with The Simpsons, and I still watch them to this day.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Okay, last question. If you could eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I think I'd have to say, and this might be the American coming out of me, but pizza. I think I'd have to say pizza.
And they do pizza very big over there, don't they?
My kids and I eat a lot of pizza, and it's everywhere over here, and they do some good stuff. So I'd have to say pizza. I do enjoy a good pizza.
Awesome, man. All right. Thanks so much for your time. I'll let you go. I've been your host, Dave. This has been the amazing Lance Hohaia, the Huntley Hurricane. We've had a great time going back in the day, and we'll see you next time for kickoff.
Full time.